Okay, let's just get right into it. There's a massive technological shift happening on the battlefield, and it's moving from science fiction to frontline reality at a speed that is, well, it's breathtaking. We're talking about autonomous warfare, and it is arriving way, way faster than anyone thought possible.
You know the image, right? It's one of the most iconic and, let's be honest, absolutely terrifying scenes in movie history. An army of machines, just tireless, unfeeling, rolling across a battlefield of human skulls. That dystopian future we all hoped would just stay on the big screen.
So, science fiction? Or is this something that's actually happening on the front lines in 2026? What if I told you that a version of that future, a real version, is unfolding right now? The line is getting blurry, folks, and we really need to wrap our heads around what's going on.
Okay, so let's get specific. Let's pinpoint the exact moment this all stopped being theoretical and became very, very real. We're talking about an event that historians are probably going to look back on as a huge turning point in the history of war.
This is the headline that changed everything. In April 2026, President Zelenskyy announced that Ukrainian forces had captured a Russian position entirely with unmanned systems. Think about that. For the very first time in history, a fortified military position was taken and not a single human soldier was involved on the attacking side. The soldiers inside, they literally surrendered to an army of machines.
And look, this wasn't just a couple of drones flying overhead. No way. This was a coordinated ground assault. A whole squad of unmanned ground vehicles. Names like Ratel, TerMIT, Ardal, Rice. These aren't just random code names anymore. These are the names of the very first generation of robotic foot soldiers.
And if you want to understand the sheer scale of what's happening, just look at this number, 22,000. That's how many missions these systems carried out in just the first 3 months of 2026 alone. This isn't some science experiment in a lab. It's not a prototype. This is mass deployment. This is the start of that deadly exponential curve we've been talking about.
So this all brings us to a really important point. The word unmanned. It makes you think of Terminators, right? Robots making all their own decisions. But is that what's actually happening out there? Let's break it down.
Okay, so there are two key terms here. On the one hand, you've got remote-controlled or unmanned. Think of it like a really advanced video game. There's a human operator, a pilot, making every single decision. But then you have AI-enabled systems, and these can handle specific jobs all by themselves, like navigating a tricky path or spotting a potential target. So the big takeaway here is, we are not at full Skynet-level autonomy, but that last word is important, yet. So right now, the best way to think about it is that AI is an incredibly powerful co-pilot. It's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, recon, navigation, even identifying targets. But it is not the one pulling the trigger. That whole process, what the military calls the kill chain, from finding a target all the way to firing on it, that is not fully automated.
But the impact of this AI assistance, it's just staggering. I mean, look at this. You have systems like VGI-9 that let a drone lock onto a vehicle going 80 kilometers an hour for that final attack run. Then there's Zero-IR, which can spot the difference between a real tank and a fake one from 2 kilometers away. And Zvook, it can literally hear an enemy drone coming from almost 5 kilometers away with, get this, 98.4% accuracy. This isn't a PowerPoint presentation for some future weapon. This is happening on the battlefield today.
But what's maybe even more revolutionary is how all this stuff is being built. I mean, forget what you know about those giant, slow, multi-decade defense projects. The new playbook is all about being smart, fast, and cheap. We're talking small, specialized AI models trained on very specific data, running on inexpensive off-the-shelf computer chips. And this lets them update things at lightning speed. I'm talking about a lesson learned on the battlefield on a Monday being pushed out in a software update by Friday. It's a total game changer.
So, if the AI is the co-pilot, what about the human? Well, for now, they are still absolutely in the driver's seat.
And just look at this chart. This data is, wow. Okay, so a human pilot flying a drone manually, they might have a hit rate of, say, 10, 20%. Not bad. But now, you add in that AI-assisted navigation just for that final guidance, and the hit rate skyrockets to 70 or 80%. The human is still making the call, but the AI is making sure they just don't miss. Think about the difference. You go from needing maybe 9 or 10 drones to hit one target down to just 1 or 2. It's an incredible force multiplier.
And this backs up the official doctrine, right? This is the human-in-the-loop philosophy. As the report says, humans remain in charge of attack decisions. Operators can override autonomous functions at any time.
The final lethal decision always rests with a person. But did you catch that key word in the quote? Remain. Humans remain in charge. That implies it could change.
Now, to be fair, we're not talking about full-on Terminator armies tomorrow. There are still some major hurdles to clear. For one, getting drones to coordinate in a true, intelligent swarm is incredibly difficult. Then you have the whole black box problem with AI. That's where the AI makes a decision, and even its own programmers can't tell you exactly why it made that choice. And that's before you even get to all the massive legal and ethical roadblocks. So yeah, big challenges ahead.
But, and this is a huge but, even with all those limits, the technology that we have right now, today, is already rewriting the fundamental rules of war. And the implications of that, they are absolutely profound.
You know, for pretty much all of human history, the decision to go to war was always balanced against one thing: the cost in human lives. Boots on the ground always carried an immense political risk. But what happens when you can send robots instead of people? Suddenly, that entire political calculation gets turned on its head. The temptation to just use force could become enormous.
And this leads to the really big, scary question that we all have to start thinking about. What happens to global stability when the human cost of taking a piece of ground drops to near zero? I mean, does that make war more likely? When you can project force, seize territory, and wage a conflict without risking a single one of your soldiers' lives, that barrier to starting a war gets terrifyingly low.
I mean, just look at how fast this is moving. In 2023, drones are mostly used to cause casualties. A year later, 2024, AI enhancement becomes standard issue. In just 2 years after that, in 2026, they're capturing military positions all on their own. Do you see the pattern? This isn't a straight line of progress. It's an exponential curve, shooting straight up. The sheer speed of this revolution is the real story. And that question mark hanging over the future? It's getting bigger every single day.
What this really means is that the new levers of global power aren't what they used to be. It's not just about who has the most tanks or ships anymore. It's about who controls the AI, who writes the software, and who manufactures the computer chips. The new rulers of the world? They're going to be the ones who master this technology first, period.
And that leaves us with one final crucial question. Right now, we keep saying the human is in the loop. But as these systems get smarter, faster, and more effective than any human could ever be, the pressure to take that human out of the loop is going to be immense. So the robots aren't making the decisions yet, but who will? Who gets to decide when to hand over that power? That's the question we have to answer, and we have to answer it fast.